So, Antah Bhave, within the body, Ananta, O unlimited Lord, Bhavantam, yourself, Eva, indeed, he certainly, Atat, everything separate from you, Tejantah, rejecting, Mrigayanti, search out, Santah, the saintly devotees, Asantam, unreal, Api, even, Anti, present nearby, Ahim, the illusion of a snake, Antarena, without negating, Santam, real, Gunam, the rope, Tam, that, Kimo, whether, Yanti, appreciate, Santa, persons who are spiritually situated. Can someone read the translation and purport, please?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
O unlimited Lord, the saintly devotees seek you out within their own bodies by rejecting everything separate from you. Indeed, how can discriminating persons appreciate the real nature of a rope lying before them until they refute the illusion that it is a snake? Purport. One may argue that a person should cultivate self-realization and at the same time pursue self-gratification, sense gratification for the material body. This proposition is herein refuted by the example of misidentifying a rope as a snake. One who makes mistakes a rope for a snake becomes fearful and thinks of the so-called snake. But upon discovering the so-called snake is actually a rope, he experiences a different emotion, relief, and can then ignore the rope. Similarly, because we misunderstand the material body to be the self, we are experiencing many emotions in relation to the body. Upon discovering, however, that the body is simply a bag of material chemicals, we carefully note how this illusion was created and then lose interest in the body. Discovering that we are actually an eternal soul within the body, we naturally focus our attention on that real self. Those who are saintly and wise always cultivate Krishna consciousness, spiritual knowledge, and having transcended the foolish misidentification of the body as the self. Such Krishna conscious persons go on to realize the supreme personality of Godhead who dwells within the material body as a super soul, the witness and guide of everything living entity. Realization of the super soul and the individual soul is so pleasing and satisfying that a self-realized person automatically gives up everything irrelevant to his spiritual advancements. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this is such a nice verse and purport. In the beginning of Bhagavatam, in the third verse, Sukadeva Goswami, when he's starting, actually Vyasadeva is speaking. The verse, wonderful verse, Nigama kalpa taror galitam phalam, Sukha mukhat amrita drava samyutam, Pibata Bhagavatam rasam alayam, Muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. So here we can see that last few days we have been doing some technical analysis. And before that, when Brahma started the prayers, he was actually describing the beauty of Lord Krishna. So in the third verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Muhur aho rasika. Rasika means, Prabhupada translates as those who are full in knowledge of mellows. And in one of the classes recently, we heard that when you want to relish the mellows, you should also understand the tattva behind the rasa, and the truth, the siddhanta, the philosophy, the logic behind the rasa. And then bhuvi bhavukaha, that on the earth, the expert and thoughtful man. So we have to be both. We have to analyze the truth, and with this analysis, we also need to understand that we need to relish the mellows of the pastime. Like how Prabhupada said, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you should chant with your head and with your heart. Now, what does that mean? Chant with your head and with your heart. So when we're chanting with the head, that means we do what we call mantrartha chintana. we meditate on the meaning of the mantra, O Krishna, O energy of Krishna, Srimati Radharani, please accept me in, please engage me in your service. So this is, Prabhupada said that mantrartha chintan, this is chanting when we meditate on the meaning and understand that this is what I'm praying for here. And when we're chanting with the heart, Prabhupada said that chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is like a child crying for the mother. When the child is missing the mother, he will cry very loudly. And our chanting must be like crying from the heart for the Lord. How many lifetimes, eons of lifetimes we've been separated from the Lord. And when we get this chance to associate with the Lord, one devotee mentioned that when we chant our rounds, it's like our personal time with Krishna. And a devotee has limited time and limited breaths. The more we chant, the more we use our breath in Krishna service, the more our relationship deepens. It's obvious, if you spend 10 minutes with Krishna, the relationship will be that much. If you spend half an hour with Krishna, the relationship will be that much. But if you chant for 2 hours, more than 2 hours, every day, the relationship deepens. And what about that? There are devotees who are chanting more rounds. I know one devotee locally here that told me recently that every day they chant for 25 rounds. That means at least 3.5 hours of their relationship with Krishna. So, in the second paragraph here, it says, those who are saintly and wise always cultivate Krishna consciousness. Now, saintly and wise, these are going together here. Being saintly means being innocent, but wise also means being wise and also streetwise. Prabhupada was like that. He was very innocent as like a child, but he was always street smart, always, taking decisions of going forward, at the same time protecting the young devotees. So in this verse, the purport mentions that yes, we can argue that we can cultivate self-realization and at the same time pursue sense gratification for the material body. It's interesting, in the 11th canto of Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Krishna actually speaks about something similar. He says, a devotee is like an expert horseman. An expert horseman, he knows when to leave the reins of the horse and when to tighten it. When the horse is going fast and he wants to go slow, then he tightens the rein. The same way a devotee knows when to leave the senses open and when to leave the senses, when to rein in the senses. As we know, when we meet for Saturday feast, we leave the reins open, both for indulging in prasadam and chanting and dancing. I mean, many of us go completely wild there. So that is our practical aspect of Krishna consciousness. The translation given here word to word is anta bhave, within the body. That means within the body, and ananta bhavantam. So here it is translated ananta for unlimited Lord. But bhavantam means yourself. It's addressing Krishna. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti again gives a very wonderful twist here. He says the saintly people, what they do is that by negating everything material, they identify the jiva. So they identify the jiva, and this jiva, somehow or the other, they want to engage in devotional service. And this doesn't happen only in human life. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Ananta Bhavantam means Ananta Bhava. Ananta Bhava means we know that Bhava means the material cycle of birth and death. And Ananta means unlimited material cycle of birth and death. So imagine, in every species, the saintly devotees are coming and trying to regain us. Prabhupada was a classic example. When he went to New York in the beginning, he saw the hippies, right? But what did he see? Exactly this verse. Ananta Bhava means unlimited, people were there. And what did he see? He didn't see their external covering. He saw within them the jiva as the servant of the Lord. And within the body, he saw the jiva. And then what he did is, he actually, when he was dealing with them, he did 5 things with them. Prabhupada did 5 things with them. First of all, he always saw what capacity they had, what creativity they had, what characters they had, which can be used in Krishna service. So we'll always see the good points of someone and engage them in Krishna service. Second one was, he was always encouraging. Even if you make mistakes, he was still encouraging. He will point out the mistake, but he was still encouraging. Many devotees have said that Prabhupada, even sometimes he will chastise us, but the next minute, he is like a father. He is like a rose. They say Prabhupada was rose and thunderbolt at the same time. So Prabhupada will find some quality, then he'll encourage them. But at the same time, he himself, even though he was expert, thoughtful, and skillful in everything, but he always remained humble. So that's the third thing. Prabhupada was always humble and will give credit to others. So saintly devotees always do that. And we must always do that. When we meet new people, for a program or somewhere, we must always encourage them. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, hard on yourself and soft on others. That means, as far as following the rules and regulations are concerned, we have to be hard on ourselves, but soft on others. So Prabhupada was very encouraging. He was very, and then fourth one was, he will see the creative ability of everyone. Not only, the good points, but he'll also see the creative ability and fan that fire of creative ability. One time when Prabhupada asked Jadurani Mataji to draw a painting of Radha and Krishna. She came with a painting, and there, she is offering the garland to Krishna, but Jadurani Mataji has painted that Radharani is slightly looking away from Krishna. So when Prabhupada saw the painting, he looked at Jadurani very affectionately and smilingly said, "Oh, Radharani is looking somewhere else. Looks like he has another boyfriend." So, Prabhupada was, in a joking manner, he was saying, no, Radharani is always looking at Krishna when she's offering the garland. So this way, Prabhupada, used to see within everyone, Ananta Bhavantam, Anta Bhave. So these saintly devotees see good part in everyone. And then here he says that for us also, we must understand that, yes, unless we discover the rope, unless we discover the beauty of Krishna consciousness, it'll be very hard for us to understand that material world is actually not dangerous. Because once we understand Krishna consciousness, then for us, Diviva Bhuviva Mamastu Vaso, King Kulashekara in Mukundamala Stotra, he says a very nice prayer. Bhuviva Diviva Mamastu Vaso Narke Chanarkantakam Prakamam. So he says, whether you put me in Bhuvi, or in the material world on earth, or Diviva on the godly planets, or wherever you are, but Mamastu Vaso. He says, you put me in Narka, wherever you put, but what he wants is, he wants the association and service of devotees. So this way, once we realize that even the material world with our consciousness becomes spiritual, then this place is not a snake. Kala Sarpa doesn't affect us. And, we'll then find out. So here the logic is given that unless we, by our Krishna consciousness, we discover that this is a rope, not a snake of material world, then it becomes easier. But unless we discover that it's a rope, we'll always think this is a snake and we'll be afraid of that. There's one more point I want to discuss here. Yes, the last line. Actually, there's a whole paragraph here. Those who are saintly and wise always cultivate Krishna consciousness, spiritual knowledge, having transcended the foolish misidentification of the body as a self. Such Krishna conscious persons go on to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who dwells within the material body as a super soul, the witness and guide of every living entity. Realization of the super soul and the individual soul is so pleasing and satisfying that a self-realized person automatically gives up everything irrelevant to his spiritual advancement. In the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, in the I think 20 to 23rd verse, that they are all clubbed together, he says that once you reach that transcendence, the position of trance, you actually identify yourself as a jiva, and automatically you identify the Supreme Lord, and then you experience what Krishna says, boundless transcendental happiness. Now, when we meditate on this phrase, I love this phrase, boundless transcendental happiness. The happiness is not material. It's not like a happiness in the calf's hoof print, but it is boundless and it is transcendental. So Krishna says that once you have recognized that you are the spirit soul, and many devotees, when we are in kirtan, sometimes we get glimpse of this feeling that it is so nice that we want to continue. This moment must stop here, and this moment must continue from here as it is. So when we realize that this world is a spiritual place, not a snake, but it's a rope which we can use it in Krishna's service, yukta vairagyam, and then we understand that I am the soul servant of the Lord, then automatically everything becomes pleasing and satisfying. Any question or reflection or comments on this verse? We need to understand this concept so that we can apply practically. Yes, so we move on to the next verse. Yes, okay. Verse number 29. Athapite deva padambuja gruhita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ekopi chiram vichinman. Athapite deva padambuja dvaya prasad leshanugrihito evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ekopi chiram vichinman. Anyone who wants to read the translation purport, please?
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please, definitely.
My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. Purport. This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, Chapter 6, Text 84. Lord Krishna is very eager to bestow his mercy upon the conditioned living beings who are uselessly struggling with the Lord's illusory energy, Maya. The conditioned soul struggles for happiness through sense gratification and for knowledge through mental speculation. Both process ultimately bring him to a morose and hopeless condition. If the conditioned soul surrenders to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and thus acquires even a trace of his causeless mercy, the whole situation is changed and the living entity can begin his life, his real life of bliss and knowledge in Krishna consciousness. Bhaktivedanta purport कीजिए. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So the Lord is showing mercy towards you that you are speaking this translation and purport. Thank you, Mataji. Again, Brahma is speaking about the mercy of the Lord. And what does he say? Even a slight trace of mercy of your lotus feet. Just imagine, when we think that one, many places in scriptures they say, Lord, all I need is just one little drop of your mercy. So when we think of one little drop of your mercy, then we can imagine how much mercy does Krishna have actually. It is an ocean of mercy, right? Kripam Buddhi. What does the verse go? Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga Shikshartameva Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripam Buddhim Tamaham Prapadye. So he is Kripam Buddhi, the ocean of mercy. And all Brahma is asking is just a slight trace of mercy of your lotus feet. Just understand how, when we become Krishna conscious, how fortunate our situation is. Prabhupada said, one thing I was thinking is, we see devotees, they come, they become Krishna conscious, then somehow, whatever happens, their offense is created or they lose the taste and then they go away. Please, with folded hands, I beg all of you, please understand, Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness, one who comes to Krishna consciousness is very fortunate. One who cannot come to Krishna consciousness for some reason, he is unfortunate. But one who comes to Krishna consciousness and then leaves is the most unfortunate. So not only we have to always remain in the fire of Krishna consciousness, but around us we have to also be vigilant and be conscious that around us there are devotees who are struggling. Can we help them? Can we help them both materially and spiritually? Mentally, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. And then, as my Guru Maharaj says, bringing the troops home. We bring the troops home back to Krishna consciousness. So when we have a little trace of mercy of the Lord, we can understand the greatness of your personality. And again, as we know, that the Brahma Vimohan Leela, the Anartha, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, is mundane activities and speculation. So we have to be, desisting from these two, mundane activities and speculation. And the purport says here, Prabhupada says in the purport here, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Lord Krishna is very eager to bestow his mercy upon the conditioned living beings. Now, if you tell someone who are uselessly struggling with the Lord's illusory energy, people don't even realize this. That's the unfortunate part. Prahlad Maharaj says that, my Lord, I'm not worried about me. I don't want to go to the jungle or Himalayas and meditate there. I'm worried about millions of living entities who are struggling with your illusionary energy. Please, and I heard one class where after Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, Narsimhadev actually bestows him the benediction, and he says, because you have prayed to me, from now on, all these living entities are liberated. So they actually were liberated, after Prahlad Maharaj prayed, and then somehow we all came back here. I'm trying to find the reference for that in the scripture, but I can't find it. So if, anyone, if you can find it, thank you very much. But if you can't find it, we can just take it as one of the nice theories. When we try to become Krishna conscious, before that, one thing we should understand, there is a step. We should become conscious first. We should become devotee conscious. We should become Prabhupada conscious, and then we can become Krishna conscious. Now you'll think that's a long process. We have to become conscious first. We have to become devotee conscious. We have to become Prabhupada conscious. We have to become Krishna conscious. But all these things, when we are conscious, will happen very, very quickly. Like we do some service, anywhere we go and do some service, we in the offices, there is a sign. If you open it, close it. If you switch it on, switch it off. If you turn it on, turn it off. Like that. I don't know whether you've seen the signs in the office. So same way, when we do our service, before we leave the service, we should see the place again, just have an overview that whether as a devotee, because we know as a devotee, we should leave the place cleaner than what it was when we arrived there. So this is the meaning of being Krishna conscious. That we go to the temple, we go to any house, any place, any center, and when we go there, we should leave the place cleaner than when we arrived there. Prabhupada uses a very nice phrase, a place for everything and everything in its place. So this is the practical example of how we can get Lord's mercy by being Krishna conscious. It's nice always to study these scriptures, but then when we study these scriptures, how are we putting them into practical application? So we're not speculating here, and we are studying from Srīmad Bhāgavatam directly from the authorities. So this purport says, the verse says, the second part, but those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you. So why should we speculate when we have, the Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada is given, the scriptures are there, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. So why do you want to do that? Just chant your rounds, chant Hare Krishna, study Srīmad Bhāgavatam. One devotee, Prabhupada, gave instructions. Chant Hare Krishna daily, your prescribed rounds. Study Srīmad Bhāgavatam daily. Worship Gauranga Mahaprabhu daily. And always remain in the fire of Krishna consciousness. For us, these instructions are also valid. That when we try to be Krishna conscious, instead of speculating, Prabhupada's instructions are there. Chant Hare Krishna daily. Read Bhagavatam daily. Worship the deities daily. And always remain in the fire of Krishna consciousness. But we have to take one step further. When these instructions apply to us in the beginning of our spiritual life, we should not have the same feelings, after a few years, and when we are, close to our life at the end of our life in this planet. We must go deeper. So when we say chant Hare Krishna every day, that means the quality of chanting must improve. Our begging must improve. Our, appeal, our, our heart-to-heart connection with the Lord must improve. When we are studying Srīmad Bhāgavatam, rasika muhu bhuvi bhavika. So we must understand what is Bhāgavatam trying to tell us, what is Prabhupada trying to tell us, and then also enjoy the mellows. When we are worshipping our deities, are we getting the connection closer and closer and closer? Are we thinking of doing everything for the deities in the house? And then we always remain in the fire of Krishna consciousness. And this is the fire where we want to bring other people and then let them burn in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop there. There's one more minute. If there are no questions, we can just study the next verse translation. And if there's any questions or reflections or realizations, please share, unmute yourself. Okay, no, nothing. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day, and Krishna willing, we'll see you tomorrow, 6:30, starting with verse number 30. If you have any other questions also, you can private message me anytime and we can talk. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj, Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
की जय
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.